of you that may have a Twitter account, we welcome you to Twitter. It's hashtag #StopTheSirensRI, and we hope to get the message out all across the state this evening as we proceed with the program. Tonight we come together in support and prayer for Israel. We stand in support of Israel's right to live without fear of terrorism. Notwithstanding our hope for peaceful coexistence, no nation should endure this wave of rocket violence without acting to end the attacks on protected citizens. You'll hear from a variety of speakers this evening, and we are thrilled to have you all here. Thank you.
There's an Israeli saying, we survived Pharaoh, we'll survive this too. The strength of our Israeli brothers and sisters is truly an inspiration to us. And in these dark moments, we raise our voices in prayer for peace along with them. All of us are heartbroken at the loss of innocent lives as Israel battles an enemy that does not accept its right to exist. Ahavat Israel, loving Israel, also means loving other Jews, even when we don't agree with them. It is essential that dissenting voices be heard, and we all know there will always be dissenting voices. We can stand with Israel if we are on the right, on the left, somewhere in the middle. Debate is part of Jewish tradition. We need not remove it from our conversations about Israel. For Israel is ever complicated and rarely defined in black and white. Today, we stand with Israel in all its shades of gray. Last year, my own family was traveling in Israel at the same time as President Obama's historic visit. When the president spoke to a group of Israeli students, he used a Hebrew phrase that moved me. Atem lo levad. You are not alone. Simple words of solidarity that speak to us today. With all that has transpired in Israel in the past several weeks, we need to stand with Israel. Daily headlines that concern us are even more terrifying in the streets of Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. Right now, Israel needs us. So we say to the people of Israel, Atem lo levad, you are not alone, for American Jewry stands with you. And so we pray, Eternal God, grant blessing to the state of Israel, created to fulfill an age-old dream and to be a haven for the oppressed. Protect your people with your grace, shelter them with your peace, and grant them deliverance from the violence that surrounds them. May they live in harmony with one another and with their neighbors. May the bonds of faith and faith that unite the Jews of all lands be a source of strength to Israel and us all. We join our own prayers now with words of song praying for peace. Od yavo shalom aleinu, may peace soon be upon us.
Salam Lustig and I just returned from the campaign chair and director's mission to Greece and Israel. The trip, originally planned for St. Petersburg, was changed to Greece for security reasons. Little did we know what we would hear and see in Israel. We arrived in Tel Aviv at midnight on July 9th. My first sight was many, many visible signs for bomb shelters in the airport. We boarded our buses, and we were immediately asked to participate in a 60-second bus evacuation. Yes, lying on the side of the road covering our heads. Not too safe, but this is an everyday occurrence for Israelis. At 8 o'clock the next morning, shower time for most of us, the sirens sounded and we ran to the bomb shelters. There we were in our bathrobes, huddled in a safe place, hoping the Iron Dome would protect us. I am the mother of 3 grown children. During their lives, they have done many things that worried me, but fortunately, none of them ever evacuated to a bomb shelter. My children were worried about me that week, a little role reversal. During our visit, we entered the shelter 3 times. Each time was a little easier. We knew the Iron Dome was working. One day, we listened to a panel of people from the South. Life has been unimaginable in the Beersheba region. People are sleeping on the floor at shelters because they cannot afford their own, or because they are physically unable to get to safety on time. Some are just never leaving their homes. The daughter of one of the participants on our mission who's in Israel. Her plan was for her and her family to spend the weekend together in Jerusalem. The daughter arrived in Jerusalem, but really did have to think long and hard about taking the road trip to Jerusalem with her 2 young children. Yes, the bomb shelters were scary. Israeli daily life is precarious. But really, the most gut-wrenching part of the mission was listening to Gaal Sher's father. He was a young man, really a boy, enjoying life with his friends, kidnapped and brutally murdered. Gaal Ad means forever joy, and it will probably be a long time before there's joy in his family. We knew that we were in Israel for 4 days, but for the Israelis, the sirens and evacuations are daily occurrences with no end in sight. The Jewish Federation of America, North America, has launched a $10 million campaign named Stop the Sirens. The money raised will assist with the following: accommodating families in the line of fire with temporary housing, delivering blankets, flashlights, and first aid kits to the elderly, providing critical trauma care for victims of terror attacks, setting up safe places for children away from the daily rocket attacks. 100% of the funds collected will be sent to our overseas partners solely for humanitarian purposes. We as a community have already raised over $15,000 for this campaign. We still have time. Anyone here can donate tonight or can donate online. Everywhere we went in Israel, people were so happy to see us, so happy we were there and we hadn't canceled our trip. After the panel discussion, there was a question and answer period. Someone asked, what can we do for you? The woman answered that we need a hug. We need to know that you care about us.
more than overwhelming to have a room full of all these wonderful and supporting people. I couldn't thank you enough, and I'm glad that we are not alone. Especially now, when it's more important than ever. With your Twitter feeds full of free Palestine statements, when your Facebook is flooded with pictures of Gaza civilians, with media storming with bits and pieces of the truth, and never a full picture, feeling like the whole world is turned against you, but knowing all your people want is justice and peace, that the people of your state are giving their dearest children to the army, and praying they will come home safe. That people come with full trucks of food and supplies for our dearest soldiers, with the Israeli social media campaigning for the truth, battling for it to be revealed. Someone told me once, there is only one truth, with so many perspectives on it. Living in Israel has its ups and downs. Is it easy? Not always. Is it stressful? Sometimes. Is it safe? You wouldn't think so at first, but when you remember the IDF is one of the strongest armies in history, it is. I'm 15 years old. I've lived through the Second Lebanon War and other various operations the IDF has gone through. I don't go to school in my small town, but in the larger city of Sharon, right next to the Tel Aviv border. This, and also the fact that I consider myself active on social media, made me close with new friends all around the country, north to south, Jerusalem, Ashkelon, Haifa, Tel Aviv, as well as the Gaza Strip. With that said, I've only heard real sirens a couple times in my life. The beginning of the last school year in Israel, when there's a chance of rockets in certain areas of the state, schools and other institutions have a practice drill when all students and faculty enter the shelters, or in our case, the safest room in the facility to be prepared for a real-life situation. So back in 2013, my school held one. We were in the middle of the class when the sirens went off. Everyone casually left their seats and left the room, heading toward the nearby building. In a slow pace, without pressure. This ritual happens every 6 months or so regularly. And when our homeroom teacher actually warned us that things might get problematic that weekend, no one took it seriously. Little did we know that weekend, rockets reached Tel Aviv, and some of my friends experienced real sirens, real-life risk for the first time. The next Sunday back in school, sirens were heard during the second class period. As we headed to the shelters again, it was pretty much chaotic. We were running into the building, the entrance clogging up with students as we tried to enter the small room. It wasn't fun, but knowing the Iron Dome and the IDF are protecting us was the only thing we could hold on to. And what we experienced that day is what people in the Gaza Strip experience every day. Living under constant threat. Having your parents and older brothers called back into the army. Having rockets flying over you. Agreeing to go on a public bus. All is hard. All needs to stop. And thanks to the IDF, and thanks to people like you here today, we have hope for it to stop.
Can everyone hear me without the speaker? I'm not that used to speaking with a speaker. My name is Maor. I'm 25 years old and I'm the summer emissary at the JCC Day Camp. It's my second year here in this wonderful community. And first of all, I would like to thank each and every one of you for coming today and showing your support. As an Israeli, it means the world to me to see that people in the States can see and understand what we are going through and are willing to come here and show that. So first of all, thank you all for coming. 2 years ago, I finished my army service as a staff sergeant in the infantry in the IDF, and I was looking to do something meaningful. Completely by chance, I got into the JAFI, the Jewish Agency Shlichim program, and found myself here in this wonderful community. The experience was so strong that when I got back to Israel, I decided to leave my parents' house in Rishon LeZion, the city in the center of Israel, and to move to a small kibbutz, to join a group of young people, pioneers. I had the privilege to join them and help a kibbutz that was in severe distress, kibbutz named Cholit. In this picture you can see my friends and me when we arrived to the kibbutz. The kibbutz is located in the regional council Eshkol. It's an area that borders the southern part of the Gaza Strip. Our kibbutz is right at the bottom corner, about a mile from the border with Gaza. When I first arrived to the kibbutz, my welcome greeting to the kibbutz was that as we just went to sleep, we heard the siren going on, and woke up to see the flash of the explosion right out of the window. The week after I moved to the kibbutz, it felt that it's meaningful enough. This is a picture, an aerial picture of the kibbutz. The kibbutz is tiny, it's about a mile diameter. It's severe, a lot of difficulties, and a lot of people have left the kibbutz, but ever since we got there, almost 2 years ago, we were able to bring more and more people to the kibbutz. Actually, I don't know if you can see it in the picture, but in the upper left corner, you can see the buildings of Gaza, and that's how close we are. We got back to the kibbutz, and after a very hard time that we've been through while Operation Pillar of Defense was going on, we were able to revive the kibbutz, and we have now a lot more people living there. Actually, in the past 2 months before the operation, the kids' number in the kibbutz grew in just 2 months from 12 to over 30 kids that have came and joined the kibbutz. This is the entrance sign to the kibbutz in better times. These two ladies are lone soldiers from the States that are staying in our kibbutz. We have over 40 lone soldiers from all over the world living in the kibbutz. Our area is known for the color red. We are known for the color red because of this flower that is just all over during the winter. Unfortunately, another reason we're known for the color red is the code red alert, that when we hear it, we have about 15 seconds or less in my area to get to a safe place. This picture was taken 2 weeks ago by a friend of mine when he was driving a car when a rocket have hit a factory in Sderot right next to him. He barely made it, but fortunately no one got killed. Some were injured. No one got killed during this hit. Our lives are very tense, but we all know that we need to be strong through this time. This picture was taken by my parents in Rishon LeZion, a place that haven't known any alarms till recently. Now they have about 3 to 5 alarms a day. The bomb shelter is too far, so they are all the neighbors are meeting at the corridor, the staircase, and waiting to hear the explosion, or in luckier times the intercept by the Iron Dome. These are some of the young guys in my kibbutz. As soon as the operation started and people could no longer go to work, these young people have joined the mission to help and refacilitate bomb shelters all over the area. People from all over Israel are coming every day to our area to help and volunteer and help other people in distress, because we all know that in these times we need to be strong and go through this experience. About 2 weeks ago, my unit was called to a reserve duty, along with over 40,000 soldiers that were drafted in reserve. I was on the verge of jumping on the next airplane to Israel, but my officer asked me to stay here and to advocate for us and to tell our perspective on what's going on. This is my company in an activity to look for tunnels that are all over the area. It's a terrifying situation. The last tunnel we had next to our kibbutz was about 800 yards from the fence of the kibbutz. 13 terrorists have got out of the air were heading to one of the kibbutzes in the area, and fortunately were eliminated by IDF forces. This is another picture of my unit. And this is again a picture from this morning, actually, of some of the young kids in my kibbutz that have decided this morning they can no longer sit and wait for the next alarm. So they have gathered some donations from the people in the kibbutz and in the kibbutzes next to us, and went out to deliver those donations to the soldiers, to the reserve soldiers that are there protecting us. This is a picture taken this morning at the entrance to my kibbutz. It's a difficult time. It's not easy to be now in Israel. For me, as someone who is here, I think it's equally hard to be here and read about the sirens. Sometimes it feels like it's harder than to hear them in reality. Again, I would like to thank all of you for coming here, for being such a wonderful and supporting community. You guys are the reason that I'm back here for the second time. It is my honor to be here as a guest of this wonderful community and for this wonderful JCC. Thank you all so much for coming. The consul, Ronit Nudelman-Perel, has served at the Consulate General of Israel to New England since July 2010. Born and raised in Hadera, Israel, Ronit is a career diplomat who has served in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for nearly 20 years. It is my honor to welcome the Honorable Ronit Nudelman-Perel.
It's warmed my heart to see all of you, this gathering. It's unbelievably impressive. Thank you so much for coming. So thank you for inviting me to speak with you this evening. Thanks Marty Cooper and Jeffrey Savitt and the entire community. This is a wonderful community. I've been here for the last 4 years, and every time I have an opportunity to come here, I grab it and run. So thank you so much for working so diligently to put together this rally in such a short amount of time. The past month offers a glimpse into the unrelenting threats that Israel faces. Rockets have been launched from Syria, Lebanon, and the Sinai, and nearly 1,800 rockets have been fired by the Iranian-backed Hamas from Gaza into Israel since July 8th, endangering the lives of more than 6 million Israelis. Israel was given no choice but to act in its own defense, and it is under these conditions that Israel continues to face backlash from the international community. The decision made by the FAA and several airlines to stop all flights to Israel further underscores the clear need for the total demilitarization of Gaza. Israel's citizens cannot live under constant threat of rocket attack from Hamas, and neither should the millions of foreign visitors who wish to travel to our country. Israel did not seek this escalation, yet time and time again, Israel is criticized for failing to avoid civilian casualties. This, however, is far from the truth. The IDF delivers repeated warning to civilians, instructing them to vacate areas where terrorist infrastructure is located, and uses pinpoint technologies to hit only the intended targets. However, despite Israel's stronger efforts, including agreeing to an Arab League and US backup ceasefire, Hamas continues to violate international law and intentionally places civil population in harm's way. While Israel uses Iron Dome to protect its people, Hamas uses its people, its sons and daughters, wives and mothers, to protect their rockets. Israel's hospitals treat injured Jews and Arabs alike. Gaza's hospitals hide rockets, and Hamas didn't hesitate firing at the field hospital built by the IDF to treat Palestinians. Israel's schools provide an education for our children. Gazan schools serve as a meeting place for terrorists. This is the type of behavior that is unacceptable and should be scrutinized. Israel has a right to defend itself. The people of Israel have graciously overcome struggles like this and will continue to do so. As President Obama stated, there is no country on earth that can be expected to live under a daily barrage of rockets. We greatly appreciate the outpouring of international support for Israel's right self-defense. Yet after nearly 10 days of constant attack, Israel had no choice but to enter a more aggressive phase of Operation Protective Edge. In order to limit civilian harm, more precise strikes must be conducted from the ground. But it was not a simple decision to enter this next stage in the operation. Dozens of Israeli soldiers have made the ultimate sacrifice since the ground operation began. The ground operation is intended to target the terror tunnels of Hamas, which have been in use since 2006. Deceptively built with Israeli supplies intended for humanitarian use, they are well known for smuggling weapons and terrorists into the Gaza Strip. Now, however, Hamas has put their tunnel know-how and resources to use for a far more evil purpose: terror attacks inside Israel. The goal of this new phase is to impair Hamas' capability to attack Israel, and the IDF has already succeeded in uncovering countless Hamas terror tunnels with dozen access points. This is what Israel is doing to end the conflict. And this begs the question, what can be done here in America, in New England, in Providence, in Rhode Island? I have heard from many people that the strength of the Israeli people is reassuring to them, that our resilience gives others confidence during these hard times. But I tell you now that this works both ways. The loyalty and undying support we receive from you, our trust allies, give us strength beyond measure. It gives us the push we need to carry on, to survive, and to endure. We are eternally grateful for all of your efforts and everything you do to advocate for Israel, both in times of peace and war. And we hope that you will continue these efforts. The battle is being fought on the ground, but it is also being fought in the arena of public opinion and in the media. And we thank you for defending this front. Rallies such as this show the world that the Americans stand united with Israel now and will continue to do so. Both Israelis and Palestinians deserve peace and security. We want an end to this conflict and an end to violence. We want it for the innocent people of Gaza and the innocent people of Israel, and for the IDF soldiers who have lost their lives in the recent days. For every life lost, whether it be Israeli or Palestinian, is one life lost too many. May all their memories be blessed. Thank you all again for coming.
My name is Barry Dollinger. I'm the rabbi of the congregation Beth Shalom, and it's really wonderful that so many people turned out here for this cause tonight. As was just so wisely stated, Israel has a right to defend itself, but more than that, Israel has an obligation to defend itself. And the work that the IDF is doing and the government is doing, the citizens are doing, is really God's work. And they should continue to do that and be successful in defending themselves and preserving life wherever it is, and really fighting for all that is good. Just like they have a right and an obligation to defend themselves, what can we do, as was just asked? Well, we have rights and obligations as well, and I'd like to suggest, with a clergy hat on, that the minimal obligation we have is to give financial support where possible and to support the Stop the Sirens campaign, but also, and then to help in other ways, in other organizations that are helping, but also to pray. To pray because the soldiers are engaged in a fight for life, and really that's what our faith in God is about, a faith in our life and the meaning that we give it. And that's why we're there, and it's such an important part of the world in the Middle East. That's one of the reasons we can so strongly and enthusiastically support Israel tonight. So I'd like to ask everyone to join me together tonight in prayer. It's a tremendous Kiddush Hashem, sanctification of God's name, that so many from so many diverse backgrounds here, we don't all normally pray together, I don't think, but it's really, unless I'm mistaken. But it says something that we come here to do that together tonight. We're going to say Psalm 121. I'll read it first in English, and then ask everyone to rise, if you can, and recite it responsively in Hebrew, the English verse, that everyone can understand. It's words from where will help come, certainly not from international opinion, though it's better now than it sometimes is, but from God, from Hashem. A song of ascents. I lift my eyes up to the hills. From where will my help come? My help comes from the Lord, maker of heaven and earth. He will not let your foot stumble. He who guards you does not slumber. See, the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. The Lord is your guardian. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will guard you from all harm. He will guard your life. The Lord will guard your going and coming now and forevermore. If I could ask everyone to rise. And you can repeat the verse I say after me, if you know it or can hear it. Shir lamalot esainai el harim me'ayin yavo ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim va'aretz. Al yitem lamot raglecha hayanim shomerecha. Yinei lo yanum v'lo yishan shomer Yisrael. Adonai shomerecha, Adonai tzelecha, al yad yaminecha. Adonai Yomam Hashemesh lo yakeka, v'yareach b'layla. Adonai yishmorcha mikol ra, yishmor et nafshecha. Adonai yishmor teitecha u'golecha, me'ata v'yad olam.
My name is Ilan Babchuk, and I'm blessed to serve as one of the rabbis at Temple Emmanuel right up the hill. And I was asked tonight, among a couple of other things, to say a prayer for Israel and for the IDF. And I'll do that in a moment. I just want to share that as I was preparing to say this prayer, I didn't know that I would be so overwhelmed by emotion, by what I'm seeing and what I'm feeling here. I'm just incredibly grateful to our community, to Marty Cooper, to the Alliance, to Rabbi Sarah Mack, and the Board of Rabbis, for making this happen. Thank you all for being here. And I also share this prayer with a distressed heart, having learned yesterday that my cousin was asked to leave his wife and 2 toddlers and newborn, and he's been in Gaza now for 2 days, and I haven't heard from him yet. So I share this prayer with a heavy heart. May God, who blessed our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and our foremothers, Sarah, Rebekah, Rachel, and Leah, bless the state of Israel and reveal the glory of God's sovereignty over the land which God promised our ancestors to give to us. Please, God, let your love be with the leaders of the state, that they be privileged to build it and establish it on justice and righteousness now and forever. Fill their hearts and ours with a love for all our brothers and sisters, the whole house of Israel, wherever they are, that we be unified to do your will wholeheartedly. Adonai, God of Israel, protect the soldiers of the Israel Defense Forces and rescue them from all danger and distress, from all afflictions and illness. Send blessing and success to all the work of their hands. May they venture forth in peace and return to their homes and to their loved ones alive and in peace. Heavenly God, grant peace in the land and everlasting joy to its inhabitants, so that the descendants of Jacob may dwell in peace and tranquility, and no one shall terrify them, as you, O God, have promised. Spread your shelter of peace over all the inhabitants of your universe. And let us all say, Amen.
Would you all rise, please? I am Brian Mayer, the cantor of the Chazan of Temple Emmanuel. This memorial prayer is for the soldiers of the IDF who have made the ultimate sacrifice in this current operation.
Exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure, to the souls of our beloved. Staff Sergeant Eitan Barak of Herzliya, Major Amos Greenberg of Rhode Island, Sergeant Adar Barsano of Nahariya, Staff Sergeant Benaya Ruba of Cholon, Second Lieutenant Bar Rachab of Ramat Yishai, Major Tzafrir Baor and Captain Zvi Kaplan of Kibbutz Merav, Staff Sergeant Gilal Yaakov of Kiryat Ono, Staff Sergeant Oz Mendelovich of Atzmon, Staff Sergeant Nisim Sean Carmeli of Rana, originally from South Padre Island, Texas, Staff Sergeant Moshe Melachro of Yerushalayim, Sergeant Max Steinberg of Beersheba, originally from Los Angeles, California, Staff Sergeant Shachar Kass of Pardesio, Staff Sergeant Daniel Pomerantz of Kfar Atzar, Sergeant Shon Monshin of Tel Aviv, Sergeant Ben Wanunu of Ashdod, Staff Sergeant Oren Noach of Hoshaya, Lieutenant Colonel Dolev Kedar from Modi'in, Sergeant Nadav Goldmacher of Beersheba, Warrant Officer Benassen Kasahun from Netivot, First Lieutenant Yuval Iman from Efrat, Staff Sergeant Jordan Ben Simon from Ashkelon, Staff Sergeant Tal Yitzhak from Rishon LeZion, Staff Sergeant Yuval Dagan from Kfar Saba, Staff Sergeant Oded Ben Sira of Mir Etzion, and Master Sergeant Ochad Shemesh, Beit Elazar, who have gone to their eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved ones find perfect peace in your tender embrace, that their memory enduring as inspiration for commitment to their ideals and integrity in our lives. May their souls thus be bound up in the bond of life. May they rest in peace. And let us all sing.
The Jewish people are in pain and in anguish the way that we are today. We sing, we pray and we sing. And because I'm sensitive to the fact that there are people in this room for whom the voice of a woman is traditionally is not appropriate or is problematic, I'm going to ask, because of that, for you to sing as loudly as you can. And I will move away from the mic as we're singing this, if you know the words. The translation is, our brothers, the whole house of Israel, who are given over to trouble, to captivity, whether they abide on the sea or on dry land, may the All-Present have mercy upon them and bring them forth from trouble to enlargement, from darkness to light, and from subjugation to redemption, now, speedily, and at a near time.
Call praise Israel. Akeinu, call praise Israel. Anutunim basara, Sarah Vashivya, Omnim ben bayam, ben bayam. Israel, Akeinu, kol beit Israel, anesunim batzara, batzara uvashivya, omdim b'mayam,
God, please heal. Please heal her. Please heal Israel. Friends, we're gathered here really because we know that Israel is in need of healing. Deep healing, and when I say Israel, tonight I mean the land, I mean the state, I mean the people, I mean the nation. Israel is in grave need of healing, physical healing and healing of spirit. When I was first invited to speak tonight, I was invited because I was in Israel as the rockets started falling on central Israel. And actually, I was at the Kotel, I was at the Western Wall, on the Shabbat morning, before it was totally clear that this was going to be an all-out war, that we were going to be entering Gaza. And I heard Achinu actually being sung there. And it's been inside me, right? Like how are we going to go from darkness to light? Really, how? And I'm humbled. I was really humbled by the invitation to speak because of having been there. Because quite frankly, we have Naomi here, we have Maor here, we have Israelis here who have lived it. I myself have lived in Israel for 4 years in my life, and I actually lived in Israel at times that were much more physically scary to me than the time I was just there. I lived there at the start of the first Intifada for a year when buses and cafes were exploding all around me. And this time really it was strange. You hear a siren, you run for cover, some people are screaming and crying. But mostly you have hope in central Israel, and you certainly did that first day. I was there the first day that they fell in Tel Aviv, and the sirens went off in Tel Aviv. able to compute or process that maybe physical harm will come to you, but it's very psychologically and emotionally damaging. We know that it's physically damaging in the South, certainly, and has been for quite some time. So I'm humbled by this invitation to speak about my personal experiences, but I don't know that I personally have so much more to add than the Israelis who spoke about having just been there personally. Certainly I have friends and family, people with whom I've worked, who are being called to serve. And know people who have lost people already. But I was moved to share the words of another mother, because I think I served as the rabbi at Brown Rizdi Hillel and the Jewish chaplain at Brown University, but I wasn't called here, I don't feel like today. There are enough amazing rabbis in this room, rabbis who spoke and rabbis who did not speak. I don't feel I was called today specifically because I needed another rabbi. I was called as someone who was just in Israel, and I feel today I'm speaking as someone who was just in Israel, as a lover of Israel, the land, the people, the state, the nation, and as a mother. And I was moved by the words of an Israeli mother and a singer, Achinoam Nini. She wrote these words yesterday and I read them last night. She writes, an open letter to the wind. Greetings from our corner of the Middle East, where all hell has recently broken loose. Terrorized, anguished, and depressed, frustrated, angry, each emotional tidal wave competing with the other for domination over my heart and head, none prevail. I'm drowning in the boiling ocean, which is all of them combined. There's a missile alert every hour somewhere near my home. In Tel Aviv, it's worse. My son and I stopped our car in the middle of the street today and rushed to a nearby corridor as the piercing siren went off. A few minutes later, we heard 3 loud booms that shook the walls. In the South, it's unbearable. Their lives down there have come to a standstill, their livelihood crushed. They spend most of their time in bomb shelters. A large part of the missiles are intercepted by our defense system, but not all. Every civilian is a target. Our children are traumatized. The emotional scars are irreversible. And the tunnels dug underground, reaching the very doorstep of some of the kibbutzim on the Gaza border. In the dark dungeons of my nightmares, I imagine what they are intended for. Smuggling, kidnapping, torturing, murdering. Our soldiers are on the front line. These are our sons, the sons of our friends and neighbors, the young men and women of this country called to duty by the government, and already coffins draped in the flag, tear-drenched funerals, shattered lives, Kaddish, the well-known devastating routine. And the Gazans. Oh Lord, the Gazans, what could possibly be more miserable and horrible than what these people have to endure? Will their destiny be forever to suffer under the hands of cruel tyrants? The pictures of the bleeding children, the crying mothers in blood-stained clothes, the rubble and devastation, the terror in their eyes. 5 minutes at best to get out of your house to run for your lives because the bombs are falling, no shelter. The Taliban tactics of Hamas on one side and the F-16 bombers of the Israeli army on the other, these people are clamped like walnuts, crushed by the thick metal jaws of blindness and stupidity. The death toll rising and rising. For God's sake, how much longer will this go on? And her words go on. If you want to find them, you can look online. But my friends, I share these words in particular because I have a feeling it's easier for us to hear the first part of what she wrote about our people suffering. And it's very scary and hard for us to look at the images of the Gazans crying and bleeding and suffering and in the rubble. Because we do have a right and indeed an obligation to defend ourselves. And we also have an obligation, I believe, to defend our hearts from hardening.
No.
It's hard. Am Yisrael Chai, Amen. Am Yisrael Chai, and I believe that we will chai, we will live through love of our people, and knowing that love of our people does not preclude love of life generally. My friends, whether we like it or not, Israel's healing is bound up with the healing also of her neighbors. Please God, these neighbors can both heal one day. So in being asked to speak about Israel, my experiences there, my thoughts, and being asked, also given the honor to recite a Mishaberach, to recite a prayer for healing, I invite you to, as I'm reciting this prayer, first of all, to think about the fact that we are, I recited one verse from the Tanakh earlier, El Narafan Allah, and those words, they come in a context that's complicated actually. Moses is praying these words for his sister Miriam after she's spoken badly of him. I think these words for healing, this prayer for healing, drives home that we pray for the other even when it's complicated. Another place in the Bible that speaks of refuah is the book of Psalms, where it refers to God as Harofeh Lishvurei Lev. Harofeh Lishvurei Lev u'mechabesh latzvotam. God that heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. It teaches a powerful lesson, I think, right? That to the brokenhearted, it's to the brokenhearted, not the hard-hearted, that healing eventually comes. Please God, be Haravi Aminu. So, in this time of unbearable anguish, as our hearts wish to harden, to close out all the pain, I pray that we don't. I pray that we don't harden our hearts to other Jews that we feel are expressing opinions we don't like. I pray that we don't harden our hearts such that we can't look at pictures of the bleeding and crying of the other. So I'm going to recite the Mishaberach now, and the words in English, we're praying to the God who blessed our ancestors. We're asking that God to mercifully restore to health and vigor all the people that are in our hearts and prayers. And I'm going to pause actually when I say this, such that people can recite the names of all those who are in their thoughts for healing. And traditionally, you pray for people who are in need of healing. Again, you call on the mother. You call on the mother because the healing aspect of God is maternal. It's rooted in the word womb, because it's about compassion. So if we ask God for compassion, we pray for people by the names of their mothers. So I invite you to pray for people by whatever names you know them, but if you know their mother's name, pray for them as so-and-so, Ben or Bat, daughter or son of their mother's name. And if you have it within you, and you want to pray for all Jews and all Arabs being hurt in this conflict, if you want to, not maybe all, but all innocents. All innocents, if you want to. I invite that. Because I know that there are people in this room, the ability to stand in this room together meant that people trusted that they could pray for whomever they wanted. So I'm inviting people to pray for the people that are in need of healing. I'm going to say the Mishaberach, and I invite you with anger, I invite you with love, to call out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for the healing of innocence in this conflict, for Am Yisrael, and for our hearts that need healing. You're invited to stand if you're going to be reciting the name of somebody. I'm sure everyone has somebody they can recite. Mishaberach Avoteinu Lamizot Kol Sarich Le'ah Hu Yivarech Yivateh Et HaCholim. Call them out loud. הקדוש ברוך הוא יונה רחמים עליהם להחזיקם רפותם וישלח במהרה רפואה שלמה מן השמיים רפואת רפואת הגוף בתוך שאר חולי ישראל ושאר חולי בתבל השלמה זמן קריב ונאמר אמן.
Good evening, everybody. I stand here tonight as a father of a daughter who spent 9 wonderful months in Israel, in Tel Aviv, this past year, before the tragedy and the conflict broke up. And I also stand here tonight with great pride, and I stand with you, all 400 plus of us strong, the Rhode Island Jewish community, who are here in solidarity with the people of Israel. We stand together to support Israel's right to defend her citizens and herself, enabling them to live with safety and protection without fear of terrorism. And this goes for all of our children, parents, friends, and loved ones who are currently in Israel. No nation should have to endure non-stop, indiscriminate rocket fire and deadly tunnel assaults. And as Rabbi Menachem Predator so brilliantly wrote in this past Monday's Huffington Post, neither he nor any of us need to apologize for Israel. I pray that peace and stability could come immediately, without any further bloodshed and death. Long-term solutions for peaceful coexistence must also quickly emerge if stability is to be restored and maintained. But right now in Israel, the Hebrew word azakah, which means warning or alarm, is all too prevalent. And I quote from a headline that was in Haaretz earlier this week. It said, "Once it was the wail of Mordecai discovering that Haman meant to kill all the Jews. Now it's the siren warning of a Hamas rocket." My friends, the sirens must stop. As Mitzi Berkelhammer just said a few minutes ago, in conjunction with the Jewish Federations of North America, we here at the Alliance in our Rhode Island Jewish community have launched an emergency campaign for humanitarian relief. And to date, 71 of us in Greater Rhode Island and Cape Cod have already pledged over $50,000. I am so overwhelmed by your generosity and assistance for our brothers and sisters and friends in Israel. And as Mitzi said, 100% of these dollars that are being raised in the Stop the Sirens campaign are being used to provide medical care, psychological care, expanded trauma support, and flexible assistance for 13 of the municipalities that have been hardest hit in the south of Israel in this conflict. As a conclusion of this rally, in just a short few minutes, please consider donating to the National Stop the Sirens effort, and let's double these existing numbers. You could do so via the Alliance website, your smartphone by scanning your program barcode, which is right over here, it's not in the vehicle, right over here, or by going to the table in the back of the room before you exit the facility. Financial and emotional support, pledges and solidarity rallies, prayers for peace, and unified support among diverse thinking Jewish community members. This is what our American Jewry and our Rhode Island Jewish community does so well. I thank and applaud each of you. I would like to conclude my brief remarks tonight by sharing 2 emails written to our Alliance staff members just in the last couple days. And it was written by our incoming Israeli emissary, Gilor Mishulam, who will be taking the stead of Matan Graf. Gilor wrote to Larry Katz, our Director of Learning, just yesterday, I wanted to update you that I was called for active duty and to give my share in the war effort. I know that we will achieve our goals soon and take another step towards peace for the people of Israel and the people of Gaza. I hope all is well with you during these troubled times for the Jewish people. With a prayer for our soldiers fighting for a better future, Gilor. Today, Gilor sent an email to Alana Chazin, our wonderful head of the Israeli desk, and this is what he wrote to Alana today. Each time I stand before a thing like this, it makes me face a huge inner conflict. I'm not happy to face this kind of decision. No one is happy to risk something so big, valuable, and simply priceless. But it's like fighting someone who attacks you when you're cornered, or a mother who feels that her baby is threatened. So as I said, I'm as scared as it gets. People like you give me the inner strength to fight for something that we took for granted. Freedom, and simply living and loving. For real, don't think anyone is a hero or something like that. I'm sure you do the same thing. As you serve in Gaza, where Gilor will be as of Sunday, God bless you and to all of your fellow countrymen. We here in Greater Rhode Island support you, Gilor, all of us from the bottom of our hearts, and join you in hope for a better, peaceful future.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Martin Cooper, or Marty Cooper. I'm the Community Relations Director. Before I make my remarks, I want to recognize many community leaders who came this evening. Council President Michael Solomon, Marion Ross, Brett Spiley, Ken Block, Attorney General Peter Gilmartin, Senator Josh Miller, Senator Gail Golden, Jorge Alorza, and Cormac Lynn. In my remarks, I started off by saying we have over 300 people here tonight. I'm going to amend that. We have over 400 people here tonight in this room. This means we probably have close to 800 different opinions about Israel in regard to the current crisis. Yet, and as we gather in this room, we share one common reason to be here. That is to show our solidarity for Israel and the people of Israel. During a recent Community Relations Council program, we invited 3 participants to take part of a panel. We asked them all sorts of questions in regards to Israel and its role in bringing peace to the Middle East. Upon the conclusion of the program, a question was asked. If there was one takeaway from this discussion tonight, what would that be? One panelist replied, the Jewish community may have several opinions about Israel. We may agree to disagree on a number of issues in regard to Israel. But that's okay. It shows we care and we love Israel and its people. A couple of years ago, when I first got this position as director of the CRC, of the then Federation in Rhode Island, the Israel and Gaza war broke out. It was called Operation Fast Lead. I believe that many of you are familiar with that war. I had just returned from my first and only visit to Israel. But during that time, I met former Israeli emissaries to Rhode Island and had time to rekindle old friendships. Operation Cast Lead was my first experience with Israel and its hostile neighbors. It was also my first time as a professional member of the Jewish community to witness these differences of opinion from various factions of the Rhode Island community. I remember hoping that this war would be the last crisis Israel would be faced with for years to come. I prayed that I would never experience the amount of pain and suffering the people of Israel and Gaza endured. I prayed for them, and I prayed for us. Since that time, Israel and Gaza have had 2 further wars. In each instance, it was on the account of rockets fired from Gaza. These rockets were fired indiscriminately at Israel. The rockets fired from Gaza during each war traveled further into the heartland of Israel. And like years prior, I again prayed, this time for a ceasefire, a true, everlasting ceasefire that would one day lead us all to peace. This morning, the Providence Journal published a wonderful editorial. It's called Israel in Gaza. They also published, in the same edition, right underneath it, another editorial that came from the Journal Inquirer in Manchester, Connecticut. Again, I encourage you to read it. It starts out, as the attempted Gaza truce falls apart, we must remember the difference in value judgment between the 2 parties. If you throw out the newspaper, you could get it online. You may agree or disagree with what the journal published today, but I'm going to encourage you to write a letter to the editor of the Providence Journal voicing your opinion. Over the next few days, you will read articles, editorials, columns, hear stories both criticizing and in support of Israel. Please let your feelings and concerns be heard. Voice them, as I said, in letters to the editor. Voice them through social media. Throughout the evening and in your program, there was a hashtag. I believe it says hashtag silence.
Stand with
Stop
Israel.
the sirens.
The silence. I'm sorry. It says that, all right. I encourage you, if you go on Facebook or if you go on Twitter, to please, even now, while I am talking, to let people know your honest feelings about what is going on in this room, as well as in Israel and Gaza. However, the takeaway tonight is be informed of what is going on in Israel. In your program, there is a listing of various ways to garner greater understanding of the present situation. For instance, there's the website that will take you to the IDF, a website that will take you to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I believe there's JPost, which is the Jerusalem Post. There's Times of Israel. There's several. Please take a moment and learn about the situation. On your way home tonight, I ask you to think about why we held this rally. Then I want you to consider how you may personally communicate with others as to why Israel must defend itself, why Israel has a right to be a Jewish state, and how we can make the lives of our friends, family, living in Israel safe, secure, and most importantly, free. Thank you.
Would you please rise as we conclude our program with the singing of the national anthem?